All right, welcome back. This is episode 8 or 9 of Chitown Lowdown. Here with Tom, Jim, and Luke. Jets here, and today, obviously, the Bears are off, so we won't be giving a preview on their game, obviously, because they're not playing. But we are still going to give our picks for the games on the slate for today and for Monday night. So. But before we dive in, we do still want to talk a little bit on the Bears, and there are some bye week headlines that we've seen that we found intriguing. With how the Bears have performed to this point in the year, there's not much talk about Bears being in the playoffs or anything like that. It seems like a lot of the commentary is around the NFL draft, with the Bears currently sitting at the number one.
Nice.
And the number 4 slots for the first round. And there's a lot of speculation surrounding Fields and what we're going to do with those picks. And so, Tom, do you want to give us a little bit on your thoughts where we stand here?
Yeah, first things first, Coach Wargs just landed in Cape Town for his honeymoon, so I just want to give him a shout out.
Shout out Wargs.
Yeah.
Have fun, Wargs.
Yep, happy for him. What was the question?
Yeah, so where we're sitting with our picks, we got the first and the fourth pick.
Yeah, okay.
The season were to end today. And with what we're hearing about Justin Fields and whether or not he'll be in Chicago next year, what is your early speculation on what we do with those?
So last week, I was down on Justin Fields, and I would like to just take that back. I think as a Bears organization, they should, I think, keep him and kind of just improve on things around him. I mean, you look at Brock Purdy and the 49ers, kind of like that situation. I mean, they have more weapons. But first first pick, I kind of feel, we get Harrison Jr. Then, just there's so many different outcomes you could do. But I think we do that. Maybe trade our 4th round pick or something. I don't know. Or
pick of the first round.
Yeah.
You're really struggling with that.
I would just say we need to get some good skill players around Justin Fields. We need a new head coach, and I know he's kind of been jumping around coaches. He hasn't really had his time to shine. So I just, I would like to just get some skilled players around him.
Yeah. Luke, what do you think?
Well, I missed the Bears recap show. So I'm going to riff on that for a little bit, for just a second. Just my general thoughts to what was presented as a football game to us as the fans. Good God, that was it was really bad. I love that we got a win, but obviously just kind of a mess. And it's tough when, you're trying to remain positive and look for those bright spots, but it's just like neither team wanted to win that game. It's just they were trying to give it away to one another, is what it felt like to me. And I'll take a win at this point. I think it's good for a young team just to like get that feeling every once in a while, even if it is ugly. I liked the way the defense played, obviously giving up 10 points. The secondary, even without Tyreek Stevenson, looked good. Jalen Johnson. At the beginning of the year, I'll admit I was not high on the, let's get him paid talk. I think he needed to prove it a little bit. And I think he's definitely trending in the right direction in terms of like, this is a guy that needs to be here for the long term. And someone that we will most likely need to give a long-term contract to. I think Kyler Gordon has played incredible. Obviously, with Stevenson being out, his role gets expanded a little bit from just being that primary slot corner. And Jaquan Brisker still looks great. Eddie Jackson, he might kind of be reaching the end of his tenure. But he was a good Bear. Like he gave us some great years. And I think that the defense as a whole, at all three levels, looked good in that game. Got some decent pass rush. Montez Sweat, I think, had a sack and a half. So like seeing that. But overall, like it was just like, that was ugly, but we'll take the win. In regard to draft picks for the upcoming year, we had kind of been talking about this on and off throughout the week via our text thread. And, I think that it makes the most sense that if we are going to trade a pick, that be the number one pick from Carolina.
Yeah.
Just due to the overall value of that compared to what is going to be our second pick, which at the moment is the fourth overall pick. But if you look at kind of how things are shaking out currently, I personally think we may end up somewhere closer to like the 7, 8, 9, 10 range with that second pick. So it's hard to forecast that right now, because if we're that far back, you can skip out on a lot of talent by trading away that first pick. Now, if you're trading back 2 or 3 spots and then you've got the 10th pick as well in the first round, that works out. But it's something that we'll have to keep an eye on as the year progresses, and some of those teams that are towards the bottom of the pack in the league in terms of overall standings and their positional needs. Obviously, we want teams that want quarterbacks up at the top of the draft and willing to give up a lot for it. So, and with a year where you have a pretty unanimous generational talent in terms of like overall thought when it comes to people that analyze the draft and prospects, they love Caleb Williams. I'm not in love with him the same way some of these experts are. So I like the idea, I'm with Tom, of keeping Fields for another year. I'm not so optimistic that he's the guy. I think he is the right fit for a team that is rebuilding and needs to have the flexibility of being able to pay guys at prime positions outside of the quarterback spot. And when you have that rookie deal in place still, that's what allows you to do that. So let's take advantage of it and again, build up the roster, and hopefully, I'd love to get more value in the draft by trading a pick. It's just kind of, we'll see how it shakes out at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Jesse, what do you think?
I'm looking at the draft order before you say here. Right now, I can see Tampa Bay probably will need a quarterback. New England is going to need a quarterback. The Jets are probably going to draft a quarterback. That's, those 3 teams in there that are going to need quarterbacks that we could possibly
Jets are one of those teams, like they're hard to predict. We don't know what's going to happen with Rodgers. I hope he plays, and I don't want to say anything too outlandish. I hope he plays again this year, and I don't want to say things go horribly wrong for him, but I hope they don't go well because he's trying to rush back. You don't come back from an Achilles 12 weeks later. I'm sorry. Just chill on that.
I know you had a hot take, but let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, just to harp on what Luke had said and led with the game being really bad, I don't think it's fair to the players to just come out and say that generally, because you got into how well the defense played. They won that game for us. But the offensive side of the ball, yes, it was ugly, especially in the fourth quarter with the 2 fumbles and just the play calling. So you got to put a lot of that on Getsy and Eberflus with allowing Getsy to design the way the game was called. So,
we can't take it easy on Fields though. Like he fumbled the ball.
Yes.
So I agree with you though. On the offensive side, that's not offensive players as a whole. Fields needs to clean up the fumbles. Not throwing picks is great, but if you're a running quarterback, you got to run the ball and secure the ball. So, I agree with you on the offensive play calling. It's terrible.
Yeah. So having said that, if you look at the draft, I agree. I think if Carolina continues to stink it out the rest of the year and we end up with the first overall pick, we saw what kind of value that draws last year when we traded that away to Carolina. I think we moved back 7 or 8 spots, and we're still able to obtain their their first round pick for last year, as well as their first round pick for this year, DJ Moore, some other late round picks. It's amazing how much more valuable that first overall pick than it is even maybe a 10 or a 9 or an 8 pick. So teams are going to want to be moving up. Somebody's going to fall in love with Caleb Williams. I hope it's not the Bears organization. And I was talking with Tom before we went live here, and one thing that I thought was interesting and maybe extremely outlandish, the dumpster fire that is the LA Chargers right now. They're clearly going to have a new head coach next year. They may be looking to strip down that organization and gear up for a rebuild. Who's to say we don't trade that first pick to the LA Chargers and get Justin Herbert, bring him to Chicago? So if that's the case, I think that he's a guy that we can bring in, we can build around. He's more of a sure thing than Justin Fields. He's really been hamstrung by the coaching staff there in LA, but the arm talent is undeniable. And that's what Chicago needs, a pocket passer that can sling the ball down the field. Maybe Fields will develop into that, but he hasn't been that consistently since he's entered the NFL. So I would like to see them deal that first overall pick, keep the later pick in the first round, and depending on what Jalen Johnson's going to do next year, if he's gone, I think it's been promising what we've seen out of Tyreek Stevenson and what we saw to Terrell Smith in that last game against the Vikings. But to be successful in this league, you got to have a lockdown cornerback. We do not have one if Jalen Johnson is not in the building. So I think you got to bolster that secondary with one of those picks in the first round. We'll see what talent's there, but that's what I like.
I think, just to touch on your Justin Herbert take real quick. I mean, like, if it were presented to me, I would say, let's do it. Like, you think about someone who is still very young, and I personally think he's great. Like, this is my own personal opinion. I just don't know if, I think we might not have enough to get him. That's how valuable he is. And I think the league and the Chargers probably know that. Like, we'd probably be looking at giving up 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, I don't see them getting rid of.
But if that were the case and I were the Bears, I would still think about it, because I think that's the type of player that he is. But you can't bring him into an organization like this. It has to be hand in hand with a front office change, at least a head coaching change. Because if you bring him in here, we are not doing him any favors. Yeah. It's going to be he's going to look just like Justin Fields. So
absolutely, and I think that there is a front office shakeup coming down the line. I think that's what everybody's expecting in Chicago. So, and the same is the case for the LA Chargers. And whoever they bring in, whether it's a new head coach or if they do make more front office changes, they may say, yeah, you know what, Justin Herbert is a great player and a guy you can build an organization around, but we have the opportunity to get this generational talent, like you mentioned, in Caleb Williams if we make this deal. And it's a fresh start for Justin Herbert. It's something that he deserves because he is a great player, and we have not done him right since we drafted him in this league. So let's get him a fresh start. Let's get us a fresh start, and see
what happens next year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's really interesting.
No, I think you bring up a good point in terms of like, let's give him a real shot because we haven't yet. So I think that, hopefully next year we will have the infrastructure in place to be able to provide that for him. And really like see what he can do with competent people around him. The roster is getting there. We're seeing that.
What makes me nervous for next year, Justin Fields has had what, 2 offensive coordinators and is it 2 or 3 years? I don't know if he's had a new offensive coordinator every year. Had Nagy.
It's a good question, Tom.
So I don't know if I want to bring in another new coach.
We have to.
No, we have to.
But then we're kind of stepping back a little bit. And I do want to take back my stupid first comments there. Jesse had a good point about how valuable the first round pick is, and I feel like we could probably get
in the first round.
All right, whatever. People know what I'm talking about. Okay. We could still possibly get Harrison Jr. If we don't get rid of that, we probably won't, but
no.
I don't know.
It's very unlikely.
Okay. Well, I take that back. Harrison.
We will have a better idea of that as we get closer to the end of the year. And we know what teams are at the top of the board. Because it'll be very predictable as to like if this team moves in front of us, they don't need a wide receiver. They need a quarterback. Right. So if you can allow a team like that to get in front of you, then you can make that deal. If you allow a team like that has a huge positional need at wide receiver to jump in front of you, or you allow other teams to have those conversations around you and allow those teams to jump in front of you.
Yeah. Well,
that's problematic.
What's the likelihood of us losing that first round pick, though? I mean, Panthers are still playing so bad, but
it's not going to happen. You don't need to worry about it, Tom. Yeah, we are going to have 2 first round picks no matter what, unless we make some sort of huge offseason deal where we trade them away for like a guy like Justin Herbert. Right. That would be the only case where we don't have those picks left.
Okay.
Otherwise, when it comes to the draft, we're going to have most likely 2 top 10 picks, and the first of which will probably be 1 or 2 in the draft.
We're sitting pretty. That's what I hear. So
draft wise, yeah.
So that is a kind of our bye week discussion for Chitown Lowdown.
We go on,
Yeah. Just rest this week. Prepare yourselves for the final 5 games of the year. If the Bears win out, there's wild card possibilities. So just get ready.
Next week's revenge week.
Yeah, yep. I'm here for
it. Defense is playing better. Fields hopefully plays better than he did on Monday night in Minnesota. So, tune in to our next video, which is going to be our Week 13 preview picks. But in the meantime, enjoy all the NFL action this weekend that doesn't include the Bears. And we will see you soon.
Like and subscribe.
Yep.